An age ago, the beating heart of our people was a king who knew only victory. He wanted nothing more than an honorable death on the battlefield. Yet, none could match him, and so he wandered the earth, becoming lost in time and tide. Then we too lost our honest purpose, while silk-clad men sat upon the throne. But tremble now, all cities that lay under the stars, for out of the shadows and mists of the land of promise, our courage has been rekindled, our heart has returned, and the world will burn.
Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to Comic Book Team Up with me and RJ. How you doing, RJ?
I'm doing good.
How's it going? Good to see you. Got your trailer back up and everything, and it's going to launch April 1st.
Yeah, launch in April Fool's Day. But in conjunction with that's when I think the magazine is supposed to be out, that the article is in, and Crom the Destroyer has the ad in there and a few pages for it, which is Mad Scribe magazine. I think they're on issue 11, so they've been around for a while, and yes, they do print physical copies. So if anybody wants to check that out, it's Mad Scribe magazine. You just have to Google it. I don't have the right on hand, but it's basically like an old school RPG game magazine, like Dragon or something like that.
Oh, cool. I got to check that out. You know, especially since I'm tinkering with the rules for a role-playing game for superheroes.
Speaking of which, I know we're going to talk about Spider-Man, but did you see the thing that came out today with the Aaron the Presti comic that's on Fun of My Comic now? What's it called? Barbaric Adventures.
Yeah, Barbaric Adventures. Yeah. I just have to wonder. He launched it at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday. You know,
he just made his goal, which is 15,000.
Oh, good for him. I just have to wonder, what good is being a Comicsgate king if you launch it by yourself at 1 p.m. You know, that should be Saturday night, Friday night on like the biggest thing. But what do I know?
I was just wondering if you knew anything about it, because there's spectacular art on that campaign, but it doesn't really show much of the story.
Out of the indie comic scene, I like Wraith of God, his last comic. Really.
Okay.
Wraith of God #1 was the best indie comic book, I think. It was so good, and I look forward to it. He's a great guy, and I was really surprised that he's I don't know if he's done with Wraith of God, because it didn't seem like it was finished. So maybe, he's just going to alternate like Brian Pulido does, just come out with a couple of projects and see what happens. But Barbaric Adventures, yes, it does looks awesome.
Oh, 64 pages. So that's pretty good.
I'll probably be back in that. And speaking of back and stuff, so come back April 1st and you had it on Indiegogo for a while. This is your first time on Fund My Comic, right?
It is, yeah, because Luke walked me through the process because I tried before and it was like I threw up my hands just because the payment processor was being snooty. But yeah, the thing was that Luke walks you right through it right now, so it's great.
Yeah, I had every problem that you could possibly have. I had, and I invented a few more. And Luke was patient, walked me through it. He's got the patience of the saints with him. He's so good. And he's also drawing one of my stories too, The Sleeper Agent. And speaking of which, you can still get Heroic Tales 2 on Fund My Comic right now. My next campaign is it's a toss-up. It's either Patriarch #1 or King Fu Blue Christmas, because I want to get King Fu in your hands by Christmas. That's the experiment. I want to see how fast I can make. Like, it's going to be 20 pages, so it's not going to be a gigantic book. More of like a regular floppy in your hands by Christmas, and I might have to do that first, and then while that's doing, you can run 2 campaigns at a time, and I'll do the Patriarch. But I'm not launching the Patriarch until it's complete. So once the Patriarch campaign is up, you know that it's already done. So that's what I have coming with me. George Morales is saying hello. How you doing? Take a guess. Yeah, we're always a minute or two late. It's just the way it is. We're never on time. And here we go. Tony Grigo is here. How you doing, Tony? Tony, we will be doing comic. It's Clobber Time Friday night with inconsistent characters. The stream is still up. It's an open invite. Anybody's welcome to talk about inconsistent comic book characters. Zach Tan with the drive-by blessing. Here you go. You wanted to talk about Spider-Man. Anyone else kind of disappointed with the new Spider-Man and Dune trailer? Anything?
Well, that's the thing. That's why I wanted to talk about Spider-Man today, because I personally don't really have much stake in going to see Spider-Man at all, but people are saying, I really don't really want to go see it just by looking at the trailer. But I thought, let's talk about some good Spider-Man stories.
I will say that the costume looks awesome. It's finally a comic book accurate Spider-Man costume. I think it's the best Spider-Man costume of all the movies. But that's I don't have really anything else to say about it. I kind of watched it, and I got to agree with you. It seemed kind of dull. It was kind of cool to see the Punisher, but I don't know. I've lost all interest in the MCU movies. I think they did a miraculous job for like 10 years. It was so exciting, and then they just started dropping the ball. Once they stopped using old material and started making up their own material, they're not good writers.
Yeah.
What do you think about this, RJ? Let's have an experiment. Everybody in the chat right now, I don't know how many, I don't know if it shows everybody, but I got 18 people. I don't know if you got a bunch of people, but all of us, let's just round it up to 30 people. RJ and myself, that's 32 people. Let's all write a comic book script together as a committee. Does anybody actually think that comic will be any good? Because that's the way movies are written. I think, writing rooms and stuff like that, they gotta do away with that. Yeah, everybody gets a voice, everybody has a say, just I don't know. What do you think?
The funny thing is, you were just talking about one writer. The movie that's out right now that people are saying you should go see is Hail Mary, Project Hail Mary, and it's based on a book. So again, you got one writer, right? It's an adaptation, but still, that's the way it's. I think you're going to have to go in the future to get something good.
Yeah. I think the least amount of people, it comes out to be a better project. Like Jim Starlin's Warlock comic. That was one guy. He I think for a little bit of time he actually did the coloring and he wrote it, drew it, inked it, and colored it. I know John Byrne did everything for a little while on one of his projects, like even the lettering, because he just wanted to see if he could do it. I can't draw, so I'm always going to be working with at least one other person, and then Oscar's always going to be coloring, but I think the smaller the amount of team, the better. Like, it's such a red flag when you see a movie and there's 3 writers. Oh my God, that's not going to be good. So like Dungeons. So they're asking you about what's the name of the magazine again? You said it already, and I already forgot because I'm
Mad Scribe.
Mad Scribe. That's a good name. So like Dungeons and Dragons magazine that was succeeded by Kobold for a while. Yeah, and then in England they had White Dwarf. England, that was the White Dwarf, and then do you remember they had Gygax magazine for about 2 years?
Vaguely.
Yeah, I subscribed to it, and the second year they refunded half the subscription because it went out of business. But it looked like Dragon magazine. I don't even play Dungeons and Dragons anymore, but I was just like, I'm going to support this.
We had a great place that was down by my house when I was a teenager. It was like down at the corner, and it was this weird place where you could get knickknacks, and they had a diner in the corner, and there was a pool table, and the guy had Dungeons and Dragons stuff just in the back. So
that sounds cool. That's he reputable. What are you talking about, Zachtan? Is who reputable? RJ is very reputable.
I think it's Lopresti you're talking about.
Oh, Aaron Lopresti. Aaron Lopresti is very he's the professionals. Aaron Lopresti, Adam Smith, Graham Nolan. I know I'm leaving people out. Art Tiber. They're super reputable. They're professionals. They are what you could back their books, even though they're CG. You could back their books, and you're gonna get them, and you're gonna get a good book. I'll self-censor. Spider-Man is in Dune. Yeah, I saw that comment and I started laughing. RJ, are you interested in Dune at all?
Really not. My brother was big into Dune, and like this was back when the original movie came out in the 80s, right? It was before that, but he had read all the books. He had bought them, and they were always sitting on his shelf, and we shared a room. So I tried to read them after we watched the movie a couple of times, and it's like I could not get into it. And now that I'm more wise and all that kind of stuff, I really don't like the premise of Dune.
I tried so bad. I bought like the first 3 novels. I started reading the first novel. I gave it up. I started again. I gave it up. I watched the David Lynch film, and then I watched the made for TV. And now this movie came out. I'm like, you know what? I think I gave it my fair share. I just don't like Dune. And if you like it, that's great. I don't have anything philosophically opposed to it. I'm not, it's not, I just couldn't get into it. There's a couple of things I just couldn't get into, and Dune is one of them. The other one is that Witcher TV show. It is awful. The first season was awful. It's awful in every possible way. It just stinks. The Hand is the Daredevil and Wolverine villain. So why Spider-Man? He's fighting the Hand. I mean, that's one thing I liked about Marvel Universe is it's all one world. So like Dr. Octopus could bump into Daredevil, and it made sense. Daredevil, Dr. Octopus is robbing the bank, and Daredevil just happened to be nearby. I'm sure the Hand operating in Manhattan is going to get, and then I'm sure the Punisher is fighting him, and Spider-Man sees gunshots all over the place. It's going to attract him. He has heightened senses, right?
Well, I would say that number one, you're correct in the fact that they're probably doing it to lead into another movie, which shows the Hand that has more traditional heroes in it that are associated with the Hand. But at the same time, it's probably about 5-6 years ago now, the Punisher in Savage Avengers and things like that. Punisher had a lot to do with the Hand.
Okay. I didn't even think of that. If they have the Punisher, maybe they're building up for a Punisher movie, and then
right.
The Punisher will have Daredevil and Iron Fist or something. Yeah, I lost interest in the MCU after the second. Wow, you lost interest a long, long time ago. Yeah, the humor is forced. I agree that Josh Whedon humor is it's a product of its time. Humor doesn't travel well over distance and time, and it's time to, like, everybody agrees that the Civil War was the best MCU movie, and there was like no humor in it. That was just like a straight up thriller. I mean, there was humor in it, but not too much that it was distracting. They can tone it down and make a good action movie. I hope that is why manga's doing well. It's one guy. Yeah, manga. What do you think about that, RJ? Most I know manga they have assistants doing backgrounds and stuff, but for the most part, it's one person's vision.
Oh yeah, it makes for great books, but they literally kill themselves to produce these books. It's like I've seen the schedules for some of these producers of manga, and it's like their entire, well, very Japanese, and their entire week is blocked off, and they get a minimal amount of sleep and get to see their family like once a week for like an hour.
I was watching a video on working in Japan, and they say that in Japan and China, if anybody's interested, every company wants to have at least one white guy working for them. And they say like the white guy doesn't even do anything. It's just like a prestige thing. Like, we got a white guy. Like, I'll take that job. Just wear a business suit, have an office, just like, hey, you know, and like for the like it's a lot like conversational skills, but it's also just like, hey, who's your token white guy? Oh, John's Longbox over here. But it's like you got to hang out with the boss, you got to go karaoke, you know what I mean? It's not just like 9 to 5 and you go home and do whatever you want. It's like you're the pet of the company, and I was like, oh, that kind of stuff. I just want to, you know, I'm the kind of guy. It's just like, even when I was a school teacher, it would be like 2:58, and I'm like already packing up everything. Like I was like out of the door before the students. You know, I want to go home and have my own time.
I know exactly how you feel, John.
Seeing Hail Mary on Tuesday. I don't know anything about this movie. Is it something? Is it a religious movie?
No, it's about basically there's some kind of ecological disaster, and they send this guy into space to try to figure out something. He runs into an alien, and they had the same problem with their planet, and they work together to try to solve the problem.
Okay.
It's Ryan Gosling, I think.
Oh yeah, I've seen the preview for that. I see what was the last movie that my wife and I saw, but they had a preview for it. And it was just, the preview was just so long and dull. I just started daydreaming. That's right. Yep. White Dwarf is now only Warhammer figures. RJ, do you play game? I know you and your family play board games. Have you ever played like tactical miniature games?
No, that would be a little too long. We're usually into, the longest game we would play would probably be like Ticket to Ride, which is maybe 45 minutes, you know, is about it.
Yeah, I love Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride is a perfect game for what it's designed to be, like an introductory game. You know, and it could be surprisingly mean. Have you ever had a tense, mean game session of Ticket to Ride?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Priest friend of mine, we got him into playing Ticket to Ride with us, and he is vicious. And he said the only reason he's vicious because he also plays it with his mother, and I don't know who else at his family. He said his mother just skewers him every time, cuts him off, just, you know, is even more vicious than he is.
It's funny because a lot of criticisms of the board game Ticket to Ride is, it's all luck. It's all luck. No, man. You get somebody who knows what they're doing, they will destroy you. It is a great game. I really enjoy it. I'm looking at it right now, but I bought Ticket to Ride. Then I bought the I forget, is it the 10th anniversary? Yeah, the 10th anniversary edition. You know, so it's like bigger board and bigger, better pieces. And then I bought the 10th anniversary edition of the Ticket to Ride Europe. But there's a million different versions of it.
Oh yeah, we have about 30 versions of it.
Okay, yeah. I don't like the short version ones, like Ticket to Ride New York. It's only like a 15-minute game.
Yeah.
I like a game at least like an hour to 2 hours is the sweet spot for me for a board game. But I was going to say, if you got into Warhammer, that's it. We never hear from me again. Warhammer to me is like a sexy siren in the corner going, "Come on, John," like unbuttoning her shirt. Come on, but I know I want to, but I can't. You know, that's all I need is another expensive, time-consuming hobby. But
yeah, I got sucked into D&D games and D&D like games for my PC when I was, my 20s, and it's like that just sucked my life away. 5 hours would go by easily and I wouldn't even realize it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Nextman, but I didn't want to say because I know somebody in the chat would be like, "No, that's not true, John." TSR didn't want Gygax using his name. I think that's what happened. I think there was like for Gygax magazine, there's like the Gygax family, but I think this was like a tangential member of the family that said, "Yeah, let's make Gygax magazine," and they're just like, "Dude, you're like a third cousin. What are you using the name for?" But whatever. I liked it. It made me feel like old drag. I'm tempted to start collecting Dragon magazines. Communal creations turn out to be. Okay. Words are tough. Yeah, Frankenstein's monster, a patchwork of horrific. Yeah, what is the expression? A camel is a horse drawn by committee. From Parks and Recreation. That's my favorite episode. The hand is just a knockoff of the Foot Clan. You're gonna make you know that the Foot Clan is a goof on the hand, right?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
Yeah. He's trying to channel Frank Miller.
Yep. Yeah, but they haven't. Other Spider-Man villains have like the Tarantula, Lobo Brothers, or the sporting characters like Silver Sable, Black. So why do they have the hand? Because everybody likes ninjas. They got to make money on these movies. You know what I mean? Spider-Man and the Punisher fighting ninjas. You don't even need to write a script. Like, this drives me nuts is they're having such difficulty making a Blade movie. Give Wesley Snipes a katana and have him cut up MF and vampires. There you go. Barely, you don't even need a plot. It should just start out with Wesley Snipes running down the street. I'm going to get you, you blood-sucking freak, and just killing people. And then other people are freaking out. And then, like, that's it. That's the movie. Cars exploding. A sexy vampire chick starts unbuttoning her shirt, and he kills it. You ain't gonna fool me, and then killing people. Then he poses, and then maybe like a scene where he stops at a diner and talks, and finds out that there's a nest of vampires, and then kills another whole nest of vampires, and then end credits. Everybody's happy.
What would you say would be your favorite Spider-Man villain, though? Because there are really good ones, which I don't think would make good movies. Like Tombstone, I think is a really good villain for Spider-Man, but I don't think he would translate well to the screen.
Tombstone. Let's see, who is a good? My favorite Spider-Man. I love Dr. Octopus. I love the original. The Ditko ones. Mysterio is my favorite. What
there you go.
But I didn't like what they did in the movie. I really love Mysterio. I love the look of him. That insane. Yeah, what's it? Spider-Man 26 is one of my favorite comics of all time. It's one of my favorite covers where Spider-Man's walking on the upside down room. It's just so good. Yeah,
Mysterio. One I remember from Mysterio is the cover where he's shooting his web and Mysterio is taking his head off, which is like the fishbowl thing, and
yep.
because he thinks he has no head.
Yeah, but let's see. I think like Craven would be good, but like you would have to like, I don't know.
I think they already messed up the Craven character with the Craven movie, though.
I know, I didn't see it, so I was thinking, but like the actor who played the, I know he's way too old right now, but maybe some makeup and whatever de-aging. The actor from why can't I think of his name? He played Al Swearingen in Deadwood. That guy.
I don't know. I never watched Deadwood.
Yeah, he would. He doesn't even need makeup to play Craven. And then just have him hunt Spider-Man. Like freaking have him come to Epstein's Island. You know what I mean? Isn't that one of the stories that they hunt people there? What else? Sydney Sweeney. If she's not the Black Cat, then
that would be good.
Yeah, Marvel's not even trying. Or Silver Sable. I'll take either one of them.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about the female villains.
Yeah, they, if they got fans to cast these movies, and now I hear about this Green Lanterns movie, David Lindelof, the I'm about to say dirty words in front of RJ. I got to watch my language. But the jerk who ruined, Lost. I'm still mad about Lost. Lost has burnt me so bad that I'm gun shy about watching new series now. But like that jerk who ruined the Watchmen TV series, and now he's embarrassed by Green Lantern, so he's calling it Lantern. Why are they having these people? If just be honest, do you like Green Lantern? Nah, I think it's next. But these guys aren't gonna lie. They're gonna lie and say that, oh, I've always loved, if they even ask that. I mean, you keep hearing these stories where the studios are just like, no, we don't even want fans of the comics. Like, that is the problem. Have fans. Get somebody who's a fan of the comics to just, no, we can't do this. No, that's not right. You take Green Lantern. Green Lantern is the most insane comic book character of all. Like, if you have Green Lantern, accept the fact that he's going to be hanging out with a talking chipmunk from outer space. He's going to be flying through space. There's going to be insect aliens. There's going to be hot purple sex girl aliens. You could have femizons from outer space. It is insanity. And they're limiting it to a dreary looking buddy cop TV show. It's like, you don't like the source material. You just don't like. The people didn't like the source material of The Witcher. I'm going to say that the Witcher comic books by Dark Horse are excellent. I read those first, and then I was like, let me watch this show. It is just abysmal. The nature of, create your own comics. Yeah, I agree with create your own comics. I don't know what this is a reference to anymore. I talk so much. Now we're getting comments about Ticket to Ride. I never get the cards I want, and when I do, people block me. Well, that's just it. That is the gamble that you pay. Do you hold your hand for, to get that super route, or do you go for all the 2-pointer routes? That's or do you take a ticket destination card? It's there's strategy in it. If they don't mess up the TV show like what they did with The Witcher, White Wolf will make a lot of money because people who don't play the game will buy the miniatures just to try. What's his name? Why can't I think of that actor? He was Superman. Henry Cavill. He's supposedly making a Warhammer movie, and I just heard that he has creative control. That I've never seen such a likable actor just get screwed over and over and over again. Like, he was cast for Superman, and then I know Snyder Bros, he's gonna come at me. He was given the worst Superman movies. And then The Witcher, and then they screwed him over The Witcher. Like, give him Warhammer. Let him be in charge of Warhammer. That would be awesome. John, RJ, have either of you watched the Oscars? Supposedly the rating. Yeah, well, I could already tell you RJ didn't watch them. Right? Did you?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were the Oscars, and I purposely didn't talk about them at work. And it's Wednesday now, and not one of my coworkers mentioned the Oscars. I remember when it was the talk of the town. Like, people would talk about the movies. I literally haven't watched the Oscars since 2000.
Billy Crystal was the last host of the Oscars that I think I remember watching the whole thing for.
I could not be less interested. Best Spider-Man is Spectacular Spider-Man 125 and 126. One of the only based Marvel comics outside of Punisher. You brought that up. I got to reread that story. Would you mind putting in a short synopsis of what happened? I mean, I know I read a lot of comics, but I don't have instant recall that I can remember the number. If you told me the story, I'd probably remember. Yeah, Blade script would. Yeah, the dialogue would be "F you, bloodsucker," things like that. They can improvise it. Just, what's this scene about? This scene's about there's vampires and you hate them. Okay, you don't even need a script. Save money on a script writer. Isn't Tarantula a Spider-Woman? No, Tarantula debuted in Amazing Spider-Man, but I think he did fight Spider-Woman. Yeah. I've heard Slott is begging people to buy Spider-Man comics now. Yeah, I actually put on a Twitter. I have like 5 years in a row of me and Dan Slott hanging out at Comic Cons. Like at Big Apple Con, when I first met him, he was writing The Thing. If you remember that, he did 11 issues for The Thing, and I loved it because it was just like plots that never really were finished from Marvel 2-in-1 from like 30 years prior. And I was like, this guy loves his comics, and I was really, really into it. So I met him, and we were talking about it, and he was telling me that he was pitching She-Hulk, but he wanted to emphasize She-Hulk as a lawyer and do like wacky superhero law. But so I was like, oh, cool. That's a good. And he was like, sit down. So I sat behind his table with him, and we were like brainstorming. One of the things I said was, just imagine like a normal human is suing the Xavier Institute for discrimination because he can't get into the school because he's not a mutant. And he's like, that's a good one. And then we were talking about like guys going on to defense. Like, I didn't commit murder. The Purple Man made me do it. Things like that. And we're like, oh, and he's like this, like, and we hung out. And then he recognized me the second year. And then the third year, I don't think he recognized me, but we took pictures together. And then I get Twitter, and I'm on Twitter, but I really didn't use Twitter for a couple of years. And then I started my channel, so I reached out to Dan Slott to see if he wanted to come on my channel. I'm blocked. So I was just like, what's going on with Dan Slott? Then everybody kind of, oh, the guy's out of his mind. He's Trump derangement syndrome. He told fans to go F himself. And now he's begging for customers. Go figure. So I made a post. It's got like 6,000 views. Go check out Zedtorian 2000 on Twitter. You can see my post. And now the Dan Slott fans are starting to attack me. And my only response is, they're like, oh, you're such a fragile man. Dan Slott doesn't owe you anything. And I'm like, yeah, well, how's that working out for Dan Slott? That's like the ultimate comeback. I'm not the one begging. I'm not begging. The best Spider-Man villain is poverty. Now, he was originally Spider-Man villain, even though he looks cool. Never caught on, so they transferred him to Spider-Woman. Okay. Yeah, he kind of looks like Spider-Woman, the costume. Did anyone have a fishbowl? Like, yeah, I love Mysterio. Mysterio is... Steve Ditko does not get enough credit for his designs. Steve Ditko and Dave Cockrum are two of the best comic book costume designers of all time. Craven, Rose, and Rhino were in the Craven movie. Was it any good? I heard it wasn't too good. Ian McShane, thank you. That's the actor's name. Thank you. Then we had Paul Giamatti play the Rhino as a cameo. Yeah, that Spider-Man 2 was the worst. Did you see that one with Electro?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's funny because my wife and I saw the first Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie in the movie theater, and then we never bothered to see the second one. And then the new Spider-Man, the multiverse Spider-Man with all the different Spider-Mans, I knew that was going to happen. So I was like, oh, honey, we got to watch this movie. And she's like, why are you making me watch this bad movie? I was like, I don't know. I just want to watch it. I didn't want to ruin the surprise for her because she didn't know. And then we were in the movie, and Andrew, what's his name? Andrew Garfield, is that his name? He popped out. She's like, oh, my God, that's why you made me watch. Yeah, so that made the movie. The fact that she got so excited, that made the movie worthwhile.
Yeah, I thought Electro would be a good villain for the movie, and it didn't translate well, I don't think.
He wasn't who he was in the comic. Electro in the comic's not a black nerd. He's an electrician. He's a tough guy electrician, got hit by lightning and got powers, and now he wants to rob banks. He's not sympathetic. He's a freaking power-hungry lunatic. Revel in that. How cool would that be? A power-hungry with a freaking star on his head. He's a lunatic. If she's not the Black Cat, she should be saved. Okay, we agree. Vaz, you don't like the magical cork in Lost? There was a... Oh, is that the guy? Yeah, I know. The whole plot in Lost got to be that guy picked up a cork and put in another cork, and that's... thank you for reminding me that. You just made me angry, Dad. Do you know what we're talking about?
I used to watch Lost like every time I could. I didn't want to miss a episode because you get lost, pun intended. But then I moved and I didn't have a TV for like 2 years, and then I tried to get back into it. I was like, "What the heck happened to this show?"
Yeah, it was real. I stupidly thought they were heading someplace. I honestly had no idea. They were literally just pulling ideas out of a hat. Okay, let's film that next. She should play Spider Woman. She should have to make her butt a bit bigger though. Julia Carpenter got kicked. Oh, you want to play Julia Carpenter Spider Woman? You know who I think would play Julia Carpenter? Jewel is Jessica Chastain. You know, let Sydney Sweeney be Black Cat. Jessica Chastain could play the Julia Carpenter Spider Woman. The Jessica Drew Spider Woman. We need a sexy brunette. I can't think of one right now, but like years ago, Charisma Carpenter. I would say Tom, because whenever we had a date with the supermodel that his aunt hooked him up with and not talk about it, he always missed the date because he didn't have enough time. Yeah. Spider-Man's always had like real world problems, you know, like, do I buy dinner or do I save money for gas for my car? I remember those days when I was an apprentice. It's like, I guess I'm not eating tonight because I need to get to work tomorrow. You know, things like that. Yeah, imagining ruining Green Lantern. That's his own fault. He's his greatest villain. Who is? The HBO Lantern show is just going to be an excuse to write off, kill Hal Jordan, and pave the way. Yep, that's my feeling. That's my feeling. I absolutely agree. I mean, we'll find out. Well, I won't find out. I'm not watching it. I told you I don't watch anything anymore because I'm tired of waiting. Oh, I'm 3 seasons into the show. Oh, this is where I get the lecture on bisexuality. This, you know, not thank you, Supergirl. I want to watch Supergirl to find out about pronouns. Plus, they don't know how Green Lantern's power works. John can't use Hal's ring, so when he jumps from the moving car, which I'll take your word for it. I didn't even watch the trailer. If they wanted to make street level characters cosmic, the cosmic level street level always right. You know, they want to have street level characters. They got the Question. You know, just make a show about the Question.
I don't know. If they don't have a girl in a fridge, it's not going to be Green Lantern.
Hey, Mr. Fourth Age, good to see you. We got a new face. Welcome to the show. Thank you. Cavell said his favorite army was the Custody. So eventually the haters all made sure that female. Yep. Absolutely. And where are they now? So RJ, I don't know if you know what he's talking about, but when you play Warhammer, you play an army. And I couldn't even begin to tell you how many armies there are. But Henry Cavell's favorite army was the Custodes. And they're Space Marines, and the Space Marines are male. And not only are they male, but they're like genetically modified, so they're like 8 foot tall monsters or something like that. I'm sure I'm getting details wrong. But that's in the lore that they're always male, you know. So there's got to be female Space Marines. Well, there's the Angels of Battle. No, there's got to be in the Space Marines, the Henry Cavell's army, there has to be female. So Wizards, or not Wizards of the Coast, was it a gaming workshop or whatever? They made female Space Marines. And nobody bought them, and then all the people who pressured for them, they said, "Okay, our work is done." They're not buying them and playing them, you know. So they ruined the lore, they hurt the brand, and then moved on. That's what they do. Oh, we don't want to play this game. We just want what we want in it, you know. Yep, the Oscars are all trash and grouches. Hey, and John, I'm the second fiddle. That's fine. The synopsis is Wrecking Crew versus Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, and Dirk of the Crew is doing a sob story about his dying mother and how he doesn't want to be a criminal. But then the Black Crew says, "No, you're a dirty criminal. You love doing crime." And at the end, he sees his mother let her walks away from killing. Okay. Yeah, I got to reread that. Again. I'm assuming later Marvel goes back to crime. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He goes back to crime. Dan Slott's Superman Unlimited is not good. I didn't know he wrote Superman. I love Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I loved his portrayal of Peter Parker. If you remember, Peter Parker was not a pleasant person in the original first 30 issues. He was kind of a grouchy person. You know, Tobey Maguire was a little too happy, too much. Like, I thought he looked perfect, but he was a little like simpy. And then Andrew Maguire had that edginess to him. And Tobey Maguire, whatever this guy's name is, why can't I think of his new guy's name? Tom Holland. I don't know who he's supposed to be, but he didn't even have a Spider-Man costume until this movie coming up. He's the worst of all the Spider-Mans. Jessica Chastain doesn't have. Yeah, that's true. She does have the rag robe, but yes, I just want Sydney Sweeney to be Black Cat. But yes, if Sydney Sweeney in a skin tight superhero costume is it's okay for me. The first thing I think would see in groups is only males is to add feet. Yeah, yeah. Men aren't allowed to have anything. Men, you know. The Boy Scouts had to have girls because Girl Scouts aren't a thing apparently. Did you hear about that, RJ? I think they're reversing course and going back to just boys.
They're reversing course in the fact that they're getting rid of the DEI badge and they're putting in basically a badge of war in its place. But I don't think they're getting rid of the girls. That's the problem.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Again, people got to lift their leg, and we're all are these people that yelled and screamed? Are they enrolling their daughters in the Boy Scouts and donating the money and everything like that? No. Like I don't see is there enrollment going up? You know, they just wanted to lift their leg on it. The store owners could have stopped it. By local comic stores know what people like, so no one would buy. So they, yeah. You know, I'm sure there's female custodians just rotting on shelves places. Okay, Tony, here's an interesting question. Who's the most extreme character between Rorschach, the Question, and Mr. A? Do you have any opinion on this, RJ?
Probably Mr. A, but I'd say Rorschach is just, mentally broken. Whereas the Question, it depends on which version of the Question, but Mr. A is pure Ayn Rand, and that's if you know anything about actual philosophy for Ayn Rand, plus how she put it together and things like that, it's disturbing. But anyway,
I'll say the most extreme is Mr. A. Mr. A was like he was like taking people out of a burning building, except for like the criminals, and the criminals are screaming, "Save me!" And he's just like, "Why? Why do I have to save you? You created this situation, And the woman who was kidnapped that he's rescuing is like, "Aren't you going to save them?" And he's like, "No, that's absurd for me to risk myself for these people." The Question I've always liked. He never seemed to be crazy or anything like that. He always just seemed to be driven by curiosity. And Rorschach, he's the only one in the Watchmen that had any ideals and stuck to it. He wanted objective truth. So he's my favorite character, and I think a lot of people feel that way about Rorschach. Yes, he's crazy. Yes, he's disturbed, but he didn't compromise, and he wanted the truth at any cost. And Dr. Manhattan, Mr. High and Mighty Godlike, kills him because Rorschach will not compromise. And then Alan Moore, I think Alan Moore's pretending that he's shocked that people like Rorschach. So they didn't buy any female custody stores, did buy them rotating on the show. Yeah. These female space marines are just where are all these LGBT up, down, left, right, press P to start. Are they buying them? No. They just sabotage the country. I heard they added a Muslim awareness badge. I doubt it's about to even. Yeah, that would be good. I want them to be aware of Muslims. I want them to be. We should all be aware of Muslims, but not for the reasons that most people think. Yes, feminists worry that somewhere, somehow, a man is having fun. I love that meme where you just see like a drawing of an apartment, and it's just a guy sitting in a chair with the controller, and the TV's on the floor, and there's a pizza box, and it says, "Men could live like this," or women are horrified that men could live like that. Dude, that's how I lived in like a year before I met my wife. I literally got garbage picked furniture and stuff. What else did I need? I had comic book boxes and cold pizza. That I was happy. What do you expect to defend the whole no man and woman sports? But yeah, women are allowed to have. Well, not anymore. Women are not allowed to have women-only spaces because any man now could claim to be a woman and go in them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they just had idiotic case about this traditional Korean spa where the women just parade around in their birthday suits, and that's traditional for the Korean spa. And you got these weirdos taking them to court trying to get in there.
I know Canada, of a Korean spa. They were doing bikini shaves. I'm trying to parse my words, but you know, they're trying to manicure the bikini area, and these guys are going in saying you have to do it, and the women are like, "No, we don't want to do it. You're a man," and the Canadian government is forcing them to, service these perverts. There's no other way to say it. Service these perverts. What do you want me to say? Sue me. What are your thoughts on Atlas Shrugged or The Fountainhead? RJ,
Atlas Shrugged, unfortunately, this is probably about 15 years ago, but was still one of the top books read by people in university of their own accord, which goes to show you exactly why things like university are going downhill, because the whole, like, here's the funny thing. There's an Ayn Rand Society, and what it does is it, for certain universities and things like that, they have a requirement that you do some volunteer work. But Ayn Rand was so against volunteer work that she created the Ayn Rand Society so people could volunteer at the Ayn Rand Society to get rid of any kind of volunteer work. It's like, come on, people.
That's funny. I watched the movies, I read the comics, and I attempted to read the novels a few times, and just like Dune, I just could not get into it. I think The Fountainhead is the most attempted novel that I just never finished. But I also think RJ's going to disagree with you. I think Ayn Rand is one of the most strawmanned and attacked philosophies of all time, and it's funny because there's a in my comic book, you'll see it. I actually mention it in a story that is. I hope Renzo will start drawing it soon, where there's a planet called, that's based on Ayn Randian philosophy. So that, the people that have like objectivist, everybody on the planet is an objectivist, and what would happen?
I say is funny is that it can only take a woman to make a philosophy that's purely about self-centeredness and then pretend she's a man in a book, because basically the main character for Atlas Shrugged is Ayn Rand.
Yep. No, Tony didn't block you. You don't see his messages in chat, Jewel, because some people are watching this on RJ's channel and some people are watching this on my channel. Tony's on my channel. You're watching it. I could tell because there's a little icon. So you're not seeing his. So Tony didn't block you. I don't think Tony would block anybody. So that's why if you don't see anybody's messages, it's because, RJ and I set up the stream and RJ's also streaming it on his channel. It's just a nice way so that we don't have to go back and forth to each other's channels anymore. Everyone should read A Princess of Mars in college. I just read that about 2 or 3 years ago. I bought a collection of the first 5 novels. So I read the first 5 John Carter Warlord of Mars novels. I think I'm up to the one right before what's his name? The son takes the Carthoris or something like that. Carthoris. I think that God's providence has misguided Israel. What she helped remind people that selfishness is not the supreme virtue. Performative selfishness makes things worse. I didn't read that. Why didn't I read the comics based on? Yeah, Marvel had movie adaptions. I read those. I had those. I was way into the David Lynch because they were just nuts. And I wanted to figure it out because I was like, I'm confused by this. I wanted to figure it out, but I lost interest. But I read those. If there's another series, then I'm not aware of them. And I'm all caught up with the comments now.
All right. So off the top of your head, John, what's your favorite Spider-Man run?
It just like most people, my first. I started collecting Amazing Spider-Man with 189. So 189 to like 250, and I there was like a lot of Roger Stern, a lot of why can't I think of the name of the writer and artist? That's gonna drive me nuts now. But I love that run. So it introduced the Black Cat, the Fly, just Spider-Man 200 had Spider-Man, face off against the guy that killed Uncle Ben. It was just so good. But that was my favorite. But then around then, my friend Michael started telling me that about the numbers in comics, and I just bought comics, so he was just like, oh, look, you see this is issue 190, so this is, you read them in this order. I just bought comics and whatever, and now I was like, oh, they're in order, they're numbered, and I got obsessed, and then I got depressed because I was like, I'm missing 179 issues of Spider-Man. At that time, I probably could have afforded them. Even Amazing Fantasy 15 was like $100 at that time, which was a lot of money, but it's not like it is today. So I was like, oh man. So I kind of abandoned. So around 220, I stopped Amazing Spider-Man, and I started getting Spectacular Spider-Man from issue number 1. So the first 100 issues of Spectacular Spider-Man, that's the Spider-Man for me. Jim Mooney art. Oh, so good. He fights Carrion, the undead clone of Miles Warren, the White Tiger. I loved all of those comics. What about you?
I'd honestly go with Web of Spider-Man. The first arc of Web of Spider-Man was really good. If you ask me, if you're looking for like iconic, well, I wouldn't say iconic. I guess I'd say just really down to earth, good Spider-Man stories, go to Web of Spider-Man. The first couple of issues, you got Vulture and Dr. Octopus, and then they start to get into basically blending in the other Marvel characters. But yeah, I loved Web of Spider-Man. Like you, I really wasn't into Spider-Man a whole lot when Peter Parker started up. And it wasn't until Web of Spider-Man that I really actually started to read Spider-Man on any regular basis. That being said, my favorite, I honestly, I remember saying this in the comic store, and the people looked at me like I had two heads, but I loved Buscema's run on Spider-Man. I loved the art, and people were looking at me like I said, like I had two heads. Like, why do you like this in Spider-Man? I don't know. It really spoke to me. That's where a lot of the Tombstone stories were too.
Yeah, when Amazing Spider-Man, when Web of Spider-Man came out, I was furious. I'm a crazy person. I was just like, how many Spider-Man comics do they need? This is just a money grab, and I didn't buy it. I refused to buy it. And then years later, when I was a school teacher, I had my own money, and I was paid up all my bills and everything. So I was like, all right, I went on eBay, and I went a little nuts, and I started buying like full runs of comics. And I just remember I got a long box of like near mint of Web of Spider-Man 1 to 150, and I binge read that. I would like every day I would read like 5 or 6 Spider-Man comics. Yep. I remember these. Yep.
Yeah, those are beautiful, beautiful covers too.
I love that cover. Yeah. But how crazy they're flooding the market with Spider-Man comics, and now how many X-Men comics are there? I started buying Spider-Man with the Craven, the Hunter series, with the series, and then McFarlane Spider-Man. I lost interest after he left Lucky Me before the Clone Saga. Yeah, I like I said, I stopped around 220, and then I since bought up. I think I got like all the Spider-Man, all the Marvels, all the web, all the Spider-Man comics up to 2015. I think 2015 is when I stopped with all of that stuff.
I can't remember. I'm looking through the covers right now, and I'm trying to remember a team of villains for Spider-Man. I think it came from one of the Kingpin runs, but it was a bunch of character themed. I don't know. One guy had basically a 6-shooter and a cowboy hat on, and the other one's
the Enforcers.
The Enforcers. Thank you.
Yeah. Fancy Dan, Man Mountain Marco. I forget who the leader was, but he wore that mask, and he turned out to be the reporter for the Daily News. But yeah, there was at Montana, the small guy who threw knives or something like that. No, Fancy
Yep.
Dan was the small guy with the knife. Montana was the cowboy with the lasso, and Mountain Marco was the big guy. Yeah, the enforcers.
To me, Kingpin is a Spider-Man villain just because I read those old Kingpin Spider-Man before any of the Daredevil stuff came into play. And it was like Kingpin just beating the crap out of Spider-Man, just pummel him with the huge hands as they're just, it was just a knockdown, drag him out fight.
Yeah, I mean, yes, Kingpin debuted in a John Romita comic, I think, what, 59 or something like that, 58. And yeah, he fought Spider. But I never believed it. He's just a normal human. Spider-Man should just throw him through a wall, and that's the end of the fight. These are John Byrne covers, too. I love when John Byrne draws Spider-Man. So that's why, to me, I like what Kingpin is. I think he's a better matchup for Daredevil. But, you like him as Spider-Man, that's fine, too.
I remember because what was it? I don't even remember what issue it was, but the whole point of why Spider-Man, Kingpin was portrayed as almost invulnerable. That's why he had his strike at his eyes. He finally figured it out. The only way that he could get at him was to hit him in the eyes. That's it.
Yeah, I don't like Batman could fight a non-powered villain and it could be a dramatic fight. But if you don't have powers, Spider-Man's taking you out. Like one punch from Spider-Man can lift a car. Kingpin's a strong human. Look at that issue number 3 right there. I just want to point it out. Today, everybody would be like, my 3D assets, because that's just a photograph of Manhattan with some sort of filter put over it. John Byrne didn't draw those buildings. So, we've been using 3D assets since Jack Kirby used them in early Fantastic Four. So, I mean, I don't particularly like it too much. And if you're going to use 3D, you got to damn well make it look like it was drawn. Otherwise, it to me, it ruins the immersion. And that issue number 3, it's a great cover, but I do know that it's a photograph. And at a certain level, it pulls me out of the comic book. Does that make any sense to anybody listening to this?
Yeah, there's really bad ones. I mean, that one's not too bad, but
Yeah,
it's like the Submariner ones that they had literally New York, a picture of New York in the background. Right. They didn't make any.
And it was a black and white picture too, which made it even worse.
I was going back. There was some late '60s Green Lanterns that did the same thing too.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Agreed. Kingpin would be some sort of better human to fight Spider-Man. Yeah, I mean, I know like they do that with Superman. They inconsistently portray Superman's strength so he could match the villain that he's fighting. I love that Doc Ock. Oh, I remember that one. Number 6. That's when the Beyonder turned the building into gold.
Yeah, there was a second part to this. I think was in Peter Parker Spider-Man. It's a double cover and went from one to the other. He's got the normal suit on in this one, and the other one he has the black suit on.
Yeah. I remember a lot of people in my comic book store got so mad when Spider-Man changed into the black suit. I was just like, don't waste your time. It's going to be like a year, and then they're going to make a big show of him coming back to his regular suit. But changing Spider-Man's suit is a crime. That is the best superhero costume. It is perfection.
Okay, let's take a different tack here. What's your favorite artist for Spider-Man?
I think John Byrne is my favorite. I mean, that's a cheat because he's just my favorite superhero comic book artist. He can almost do no wrong. But I love, look at these covers. The few times that he drew Spider-Man, all the interiors, to me, it was the best. I know people will be like, oh yeah, of course you're gonna say this, but the Ditko Spider-Mans were great. The older I get, the more I look at the detail and the different perspectives in each panel, especially the fight scenes. They are so good. Who else do I like? It's gonna drive me nuts that I can't think of this artist's name, but he drew Thor. Keith Pollard. I love Keith Pollard Spider-Man. Um, oh, I know everybody's waiting for me to say Todd McFarlane, but I've never been crazy about Todd McFarlane. To me, it was too much of a departure from the way Marvel Comics was supposed to look.
John Romita, I think, set the bar, and Todd McFarlane just stepped all over it. That's good stuff, but not quite Spider-Man, I thought, when it came out.
Like, I did like it when it came out, but now when I see Todd McFarlane Spider-Mans, I do like them because Marvel's house style is no longer. But when these comics came out, Marvel still had a house style. There was a Marvel look to a comic book. Every once in a while you get something different like Bill Sienkiewicz, but for the most part, Marvel comics looked like Marvel comics. And then Todd McFarlane came around and Jim Lee, and I remember there was a couple of years when I was in University of New Mexico, and I just couldn't afford comics. So there was like a 2-year period in the 90s where I got nothing. And I remember my girlfriend at the time, I went to her house for Thanksgiving, and her sister's boyfriend had comics. And it was X-Men comics. And I was just looking at the art, and it was like obviously manga inspired. And I can't think of the name of the artist now. And I was like, I don't like this. It was such a departure. So during that 2-year period, I think Marvel just dropped that house style. Look, Howard Chaykin is not Marvel house style either, but I guess it's not everybody was a clone of each other. That would be boring too.
George says Byrne and Bagley. I never really got into the Bagley version of Spider-Man. I don't know why.
Yeah, I like Bagley. Yeah. What is this comment? It's so hard to draw with all those webbing lines. Yeah, I know.
I think that's why they changed honestly, in my mind, that's why they changed it to the black suit, because people just got sick of drawing Spider-Man with all the webs, in the suit itself.
Yep. I forgot what I was going to say. I'm like losing it already. Oh yeah. Arkham's, we were talking about 3D assets, and Arkham, I asked him to draw. I don't want to spoil it yet, but I asked him to draw something for me, and one of the things was the moon. So I was like, okay. I said, now, just do me a favor. Could you fix the moon, because I don't want anybody accusing me of 3D assets. And he goes, that's all drawing. That's not 3D. I said, oh, you did such a good job. I thought it was a photograph of the moon. So that's what he's talking about. Bagley Spider. Bagley, didn't he do he did Thunderbolts for the longest time, right? Is that the right artist?
Yeah, pretty sure.
I like the Vulture. I don't know why, but I always thought the Vulture was a good cheesy villain. Man, it's been so long since I saw these. Now that right there, that issue 17, Spider-Man's face, that is Spider-Man. That is that's Spider-Man from Spidey Super Stories. That's the way Spider-Man looks in my mind, right there. That kind of like that John Romita Sr. inspired mask design. Yes, he drew Thunderbolts and New Warriors. Thank you. Yeah, texture brush for the win. Okay, thank you, Arkham. Some cell phones can't even have a real picture of the moon. Yeah, my wife took a picture of a full moon on her cell phone camera, and it was really cool. Like, I was like, oh my God, it's amazing that we have something in our hand that could take such a crisp image of the moon, and you can kind of see like lines of the craters. Just imagine if medieval people, they would think that the average person right now is a wizard with the stuff that we could do. They would definitely think that our cell phones are like mother boxes from the new gods.
I would say, as you were talking about earlier, John, they need to go back to the old storytelling and old stories. I don't know why they didn't take Kraven the Hunter and just turn it into a movie. It was just that's a gimme, if you ask me.
Because they couldn't use Spider-Man though.
But I mean, they still have that now. I mean, they could still make a movie about it now, but still,
Yeah.
I don't think you're ever going to see it.
Yeah, they sometimes the window is closed. Yeah, the Death of Craven is a great comic, great story. And you know what? They should never have brought back Craven. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes a story is so good you could retire a character. Marvel will survive without Craven the Hunter. It's a stupid name anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah. Talk about Craven the Hunter. I remember probably like 2 years into my channel, I was doing reviews of like a Squirrel Girl comic or something like that, or Miss Marvel. And I think it was Squirrel Girl. And anyways, she teamed up with Craven the Hunter because they're both animal themed. And basically, she at the end of the book let him go because they were friends after that. I'm going, this is Craven the Hunter. He kills people. It's like you're just gonna let him walk. I mean, yeah. It's when I was looking at Marvel going, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, because Craven, the word Craven means cowardly, faint-hearted, lacking courage. So it always drove me nuts that his name was Craven the Hunter, Coward the Hunter. So I just never liked the character, even though it was a Kirby creation. Just because you guys, if you've been watching me at all, you know I'm a nut job when it comes to superhero names. And if the name is bad or it doesn't make sense, I can't get behind the character. Like Cable, I will go to it's going to say that on my tombstone. I hate Cable. The name makes no sense. So when the word Craven means cowardly, how could that be your character's name? So I never liked Craven, although I got to admit, Craven's Last Hunt was a great comic, and it was a good send off. I'm tired of all the Goblin, spin-offs, the Green Goblin, the Gold Goblin, the Hobgoblin. Then there was the Demo Goblin. Yes, I saw it. I was just looking at it just before. The Craven movie they released not so long closed the door for some time. Yeah, sometimes a movie is so bad that I'm surprised they even made a Fantastic Four movie after the last disaster. And what the Marvels movie was so bad. I think that's the end of those characters, right? Are they going to come back? Oh, scroll back up. What is that? Okay, Necra. All right. In my tired mind, I thought it was a female version of Stingray. I was like, I don't remember that, but Necra. There's a C-level character. Henry Pym. That was the worst incarnation of the Dr. Pym. He's got a leisure suit. It's like the most unsuperheroic character ever. Keep him in Yellow Jacket. Yellow Jacket was his best incarnation. I love that costume. That's
throw up some
sure
spectacular Spider-Man.
If you start at issue 1, those I love those.
That's where you get the tarantula, isn't it? I don't know. Peter Parker was the original
Spider-Man, but he was also the villain in Spectacular Spider-Man #1, and his debut cover and Spectacular Spider-Man #1 cover are remarkably similar. Yeah, I love these. Look at that. Craven is the hunter.
Quite honestly, here's the thing about these Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man books. I honestly, if I can remember correctly, have seen a bunch of these in the comic store. They're not worth a whole lot.
No,
but they're good stories.
Yeah,
you want to go back and read some good Spider-Man.
I know it's funny because I've been buying back issues rather than getting new issues, and I don't even remember what I ordered, but I was like, oh, I want to get these. I want to get these comics, and they're only like 5 or 6 years old. Oh, Fantastic Fours. I'm in the woke era of the Fantastic Fours as far as back issues, and the cover price is like $2.95, but I'm ordering them online for $2.65 a piece. So I'm getting them cheaper than if I bought them new. So I'm doing that with a lot of comics. I'm buying, new to me, but the back issue prices is cheaper than off the newsstand.
I like that number 4. That's an iconic
Okay.
cover, if you ask me.
Oh yeah, that is a good cover. Jules says that's not the tarantula. I meant the Spider Woman with something else. Spider Woman's tarantula. Oh, okay. Then I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I like that number 4. That is so comic booky to me. I love the wings. And I love that too, that the Vulture, he's an old man and the suit is supposed to give him enhanced strength, but a punch in the face from Spider-Man, and he doesn't have a helmet or anything like that. Like that should be the end of the fight right there.
There's your comic book physics for you, because he's swinging on a web and he hits Vulture in the face. He would just basically push him backwards.
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know how much comic book physics you use in Crom. I imagine there's not too much superhero physics, but like when you do it Thomas Valiant, do you like I remember reading your comic and I'm like, RJ, come on, man, you're making a mistake. And then when I got the card, you explained Thomas Valiant's powers, that he actually changes his density too. Because I remember Thomas Valiant, your stretching hero, he went up into the cape of one of the characters. And I'm like, that's still 200 pounds of mass. He should be, but you included it I was like, good job, RJ. You crossed your T's, you dotting your I's. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's, I'm always saying that the great thing about comics is the limitation. So I made sure that when I did my characters, everybody has a limitation, and I use them. For Thomas Valiant, it's fun to try and combine the things together that he can think of in order to do the things he wants to do. But again, like Phantasm, is the fact that she can't turn solid without great personal harm possibility. So she, stays, like Kitty Pryde when she was injured, she stays insubstantial most of the time, so much so that it makes her detached from the world.
I'm going to share my screen for a second because I talked about comic book physics and consistency. This is so here everybody's getting a sneak peek for Patriarch number 1. Okay, can I make this bigger? Yes, I can. Okay, so this second panel right here. Can everybody see what's going on? The Patriarch has a shield made out of glass. And why did he do that? Because he came smashing through the window, and there's hostages there, and he didn't want glass to spray. So he used his telekinesis, and he's holding the glass shards together to make a shield. And then when Oscar colored this, Oscar, if you're in the chat, great job. His coloring is phenomenal. You could see the bullets So Oscar's like, should the bullets be there? He's got a shield. And I said, yes. The shield isn't strong enough to stop bullets. He's still using telekinesis to slow the momentum of the bullets, so that when they hit the shield, they kind of just fall down. So, but I said, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I'm going to have to put that into a thought balloon, because people are going to be like, what's going on? But like in issue number 1, the Patriarch grabbed an elk, and somebody said that elk looks stiff. I'm like, yeah, because he's picking it up telekinetically. He's lifting it up in a field at all points. It looks like he's lifting it up by his neck, but you'll see in Patriarch number 1 in this particular issue, why does the Patriarch use his telekinesis to look like a strong guy? You'll see. And now 20 years later, after his origin, he's kind of using his telekinesis the way it should be used. He's not limiting himself to mimicking, strong guy stuff. But you know what I mean? I'm trying to be consistent with his powers. He always has an invisible telekinetic field around him. So when you punch him, your kinetic energy is dispersed going through the field. So by the time you hit him, it's like a baby's hitting him. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
I love this. And then I told Renzo, I'll scroll this up if you could see it. This panel down here, I said the Patriarch fly. Did you lose me?
Just for 2 seconds.
Yeah, I said the Patriarch runs by. I said have after images like Spider-Man or Daredevil. So he's like using his telekinesis to boost his speed, and he's hitting everybody. And Renzo did. I just love that effect. I had to have that effect in one of my comics. Yeah. But look at that coloring. It's so good. So good. Patriarch #1 coming sooner rather than later. Is that Maduro? The artwork you just saw? No, that's Renzo, the artist for my comic.
No, he means the character at the very top panel.
Oh. That's Spider Gonzalez. He's an actual security guard at my job that I worked on for 6 months. He was, I had to sign in every morning, and his name tag said Spider. I said, "Your name is Spider?" I was like, "What's your last name?" Spider Gonzalez. I said, "That is the coolest thing. You should be a superhero." And then a couple of weeks later, I was like, "I'm going to use you," and that's what he looks like. I said, "I'm going to use you in one of my comic books." Because you make comic books too, and then he showed me he makes comic books. So we traded information, and then I got transferred because the job was over. So I miss Spider Gonzalez, and I can't find the card that he gave me.
Just let everybody know. John sent me a picture of him at work. He was using his Batman skills to hide in the rafters.
Oh, yeah. I'll show that picture. Yeah, I'll show that picture. Yeah, because he's. I told you a friend of mine took a picture of me at work, and you said send me the picture, and then I forgot to send it. But this is me at work. My coworker just took this picture without telling me. So here I am. Oh, can you see that? Here I am, happily at work. So this is a lift. This is an airport, so the ceiling is very high. So I go up on the lift, and then I climb up onto all the steam pipes. The steam pipes don't have steam in them yet, so they're not hot. And then I had to go up there, and I'm making splices in boxes. 60 years old, and I'm the guy climbing through the freaking ceilings. My partner is in 35 years old. He's down there, but he's in his defense, he's really good at bending the pipes. I'm good at bending the pipes, but he is really good. So I'll go up there, take the measurements. He's on the ground. He bends them all up there. He'll climb up on the side of the lift, hand me the pipe, and I'm installed. So right now, I think I'm putting a connector and tightening the connector between two pipes. But it's funny that you said you can't see me when I'm wearing high visibility stuff. But
it took me a minute. It's like, where the heck is he in this picture?
It's ridiculous that I'm wearing high visibility stuff because there's no trucks backing up. There's no fork. It's just me and my partner. You know what I mean? But you got to wear it.
Yeah, it's funny. Last time I worked in a warehouse and driving forklift, I ripped this stupid backup noise, like the wires for it, out of the forklift. It's like, I'm done listening to this beeping, because you drive backwards the majority of the time, right? So I just I was on break one day and I was like, I'm ripping this out.
Yeah, this thing beeps all the time. When it moves, it just beeps, and it drives you crazy. We can't disconnect it. These are rentals. We just can't. He's really good with pipe, John. Little guy. Yeah, I've been doing this for 22 years. I heard every gay pipe joke possible. Yeah. Those people who say that everything's political do not know the difference between reality and propaganda. Absolutely. And then they'll interpret it and add their own politics into something when it clearly wasn't there or whatever. It's a demoralization thing. It's no escapism. That's if you read 1984, you couldn't escape. They wouldn't allow you to escape, and they didn't want to kill you. Like when you went to, what was it, room 222? Is that the room? When you went into that room, they could have just killed you. That would have been the easy thing to do, but no, that would be an escape. They tortured you until you willingly believed what they wanted you to believe. That's how, and I think that's what's going on now. You can't escape. They're ruining Warhammer because they don't want you to have an escape. They're ruining Marvel. They don't want you to have an escape. They're ruining video games because they don't want you to have an escape. I can't believe before COVID, I didn't think this way. And now I think, oh, look at that. Mysterio ripping off his head. That is awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the first Spider-Man I can remember reading.
Oh yeah, and what's that guy? The Cyclone. Look at that. Do you know who the artist is? Does this website tell you who drew this?
I don't think it does.
That is so good. Jewel says, damn, 1,000 men before me have made the same pipe joke. I'm not a unique snowflake. Just a don't worry about it. This is the beginning of the Gwen Stacy, the clones and everything like that. I love that cover with the foot. John's newest comic book, electrician by day, vigilante by night. He is the electrocutioner. It's funny because I made up a character called Kilowatt, and he is in a comic, and I just made him up just as a response to throwing water on a villain, an electrical villain, short circuits them. I'm like, you guys don't know what a short circuit means. So you'll see. The name of that story is called A Trick Before Dying. A Trick Before Dying. Escapist fiction is being ruined. Absolutely. Time to get electric. If I do make up the electrocutioner, his sidekick is going to be called Sparky. Sparky is the word that, that's what the other trades call electricians. Hey, Sparky, when they don't know your name and they need some. Hey, Sparky, can you come over here? You on the third row. We call steam fitters, plumbers, and then carpenters, we just call them pill addicts. The page from Antonio Gramsci: make everything political, remove people's ability to relax and drive them. Absolutely. Oh, what's up, punk? That's a good one. Didn't think of that. Our first Mysterio was the old Questrobe computer game.
Oh wow, Questrobe. Oh my God, I remember playing that. Oh,
what, the character of Mysterio was in that game?
Oh yeah.
I don't remember.
Oh, that was like a 1-disc game that you could buy at like Kmart, and it was old floppy disk. So, oh my, that is an old thing, George. Oh, Spider-Man. Yeah, it was a Spider-Man game. I can remember buying, they had a Spider-Man one, they had a Human Torch one. I don't know if it was just Human Torch or it was Fantastic Four, but yeah, I can remember buying them from Kmart for like, I don't know, 10, 20 bucks because it came on one floppy disk. George, you just activated a memory I've forgotten completely.
More memory unleashed. Now, call him Tag Out, the guy who's supposed to secure the electricity doesn't play a joke on you. Yeah, that's a deep cut if you know what Lockout Tag Out is. You got your wire. Oh, Tony's writing my comic for me. There you go. You got your wires crossed, pal. What's up? There was a Hulk Quest probe too. Do you know about that?
Oh, I didn't buy that one, but I think.
And they had comic books. Okay. These criminals are off the grid. That's what he says after he takes care of them, right? The electrocutioner. You're off the grid. Circuit broken. Yeah, there you go. That's the first appearance of the tarantula, right? It's remarkably similar to the Spectacular Spider-Man one.
I think all the covers he is on, he's basically in this pose.
Yeah, because he dances the tarantella. Yeah, and he has the spiky shoes. That scorpion costume is so bad it's great. That Spider-Man 145 right there with the jackal, that is the first Spider-Man comic I ever remember reading. I don't know if I bought it or if somebody gave it to me, but I remember reading it, being confused. Why is the jackal green?
Yeah, what happened to the jackal as a character? I don't even remember.
It was Spider-Man's biology professor, Miles Warren, and he perfected cloning, and he took clones of Gwen Stacy. He was a pervert. I mean, it's not even read between the lines. He was checking out all the hot chicks in his class. He got cell samples from them, and he made clones of all the hot chicks. So he had a Gwen Stacy clone. So the whole clone saga is from this comic from the mid 70s. He took cells from Peter Parker. He took cells from himself. But even back then, I thought it was a cheesy story. It was kind of disturbing, even as a kid. I'm like, this college. And I remember at the time, my oldest brother's, now his wife, but at this time it was his girlfriend, and she was going off to college. And I'll know he just, because he didn't go to college, he went right into the trades, and he said, stay away from those college professors. They're all perverts. and then I pick up that Spider-Man comic about a pervert professor. See, back in the 70s, we didn't trust college professors. Now, like they're still perverts, but for some reason, kids fall for it.
And again, I can remember this because these are my brother's books that he would buy. That's my first introduction of Black Cat right there.
Yeah, this is like my era of Spider-Man when I was collecting. Yeah, I remember all these. Yeah, Black Cat showed up a lot. She debuted in 194, and she's already back in 204. Yeah, Felicia Hardy, right? Yeah. Yeah, that Mesmero. Yeah, these are fun. I remember all these.
There's okay, back to this one here. There's a lot of abandoned, let's say, abandoned Spider-Man technology. One would be the Spider-Man in the background here on the left from 206. He had the Spider-Man light that would shine on things. Would have his. That's what it looked like. It was just a circle, but it had his face on it. Yes, that plus the Spider-Man Doom buggy that could crawl up walls.
Yep. I have in mind a character called Barman who acquires different superpowers depending on the cocktails he drinks. There you go. Does tequila make him the meanest? RJ, who's your favorite live action Joker? Mine, Cesar Romero.
Yeah. I grew up watching the reruns from those Batman, but I don't know.
Cesar Romero is my favorite too.
I don't think for me anyways, anybody played the character as it should have been played besides Cesar Romero. That was the way I'd put it.
An AC glove weapon and a DC gun, or the reverse of that. Yep. I mean, realistically, being hit with an AC charge or a DC charge it's just as dangerous, you know what I mean? But we say that DC, there's no forgiveness in DC because DC is direct current. It's just a pulse, whereas AC is a sine wave. It travels like this. So there's just as much time as it's full power, and there's just as much time as it has no power, you know, on the horizon. So if you get shocked by AC, if you ever touch an electric fence, like I have as a moron kid, don't touch that. It's electric fence. Really? Ah! You know, I'm that stupid kid. It actually feels like a pulse. But if you actually touch DC, you'll just get thrown. You know, you'll just get blasted because there's no wave. But you're just as hurt. Like Tesla and Edison. Edison electrocuted a dog with AC. You see how dangerous AC is? Well, if he electrocuted the dog with DC, he would have been just as dead. But Edison, I guess Tesla was too kind to electrocute a dog. Am I reading something from Alan Moore, which he claimed all superheroes are inherently? Yeah. So Alan Moore did say that all superheroes are inherently right-wing and fascists. What are your thoughts?
I've never hidden my disdain for Alan Moore. Let me put it that way. He has some really good ideas. Let's say unique ideas in order to make good stories. I'll give him that. But the backdrop of his mind is just a little too dark for me.
I will say that I think that the idea of the superhero is an inherently right-wing idea because the superhero is the rugged individual facing up against insurmountable odds. That just like the lone cowboy, just like America is theoretically more right-wing than Europe. All the rugged individuals left Europe and came here, and that's why we have cowboys and Indians. And cowboys are, you know, superheroes are just cowboys that can fly and shoot lightning bolts. So, but fascist to me is left wing. You know, and I know like, no, fascist is right wing. If you're a dirty communist, everything is right wing. But fascist is collectivism. You know, and so to me, right wing fascism is an oxymoron. You know, either you're an individualist or you're a collectivist. So Alan Moore, that just shows you how far left he is. Because fascism in the popular sense is, because communism is just, as far as left as you can get, then socialism, then fascism, then I don't know, normie people, but like fascism is collectivism. Nazism, fascism is collectivism, but like hand in hand with business and nationalities. Nazism is just, socialism based on national identity, and communism is just worldwide conquest. Everybody's equal. It's a spectrum, and people always say right wing, left wing, but you always, everything is to the right of if you're red, everything is to your right. Violet's to the right, but if you're violet, everything's to the left. If that analogy makes any sense. Fighting evil is oppressive to evil. Yes, actually. Jewel agrees with me. Superheroes are inherently right wing, but they're basically always been written by liberals. Yeah, so they call them fascists because these liberals are dirty commies. What was this comment? Eli the Iceman. John should know what that is. I don't know what that is. What is that? Eli the Iceman? Fascism is Italian. Superheroes are American. Fascism is just another flavor of collectivism. Look at that cover. Yeah, that's the first appearance in the comics of his black costume. I remember saying that costume was an insult to my intelligence. I really didn't like it for the longest time. It grew on me, but I don't know. Wertham basically said the same thing as Moore, except he added in homosexuality, which he was ahead of his time because now it is. Can you imagine, if Wertham was alive today, he'd be like, I told you so. And Peter Parker getting beaten up by his costumes. I don't know. That 258 just seems very Steve Ditko to me.
259, the one on the right. That to me, that's Steve Ditko.
Well, yeah, they're expressively aping a Steve Ditko cover. Yeah, the two Ditko type covers. Yeah, these are bringing back memories. Now I want to go through all my Spider-Man comics. I got to finish doing those videos of cataloging my collection. I think I made it up to G when I broke my neck, and then I stopped, and then I just fell out of it. I got to get back into that. That's a great cover, 261. Holy moly, I love that. 260 is okay, but 261, that is a great cover. And it's funny because I've been told by certain people, oh, you never have your hero looking defeated on the cover. Well, look at that. Spider-Man can't look more defeated than that. Because the variant cover for Heroic Tales 2, the Patriarch is on the ground as the Subterranean is about to smash him. Like, you can't have that. I'm like, well, I'm not getting another cover. I paid for this one. It's colored. It's happening. But I don't see that as something wrong. Look at that cover.
You got to have stakes.
Right.
That's the way, your cover is supposed to look like. You got to have some stakes.
This is 2 covers in a row where Spider-Man's getting his butt handed to him. You're a G, Green Lantern, Gung Ho, Great Lakes event. Yeah, good stuff. I really do like that cover. There's something about just drawing fire and coloring fire that just, I think we have like an intrinsic, I don't want to say fear, but like an intrinsic awe or respect for fire.
I'd agree with you, John, since my, house is completely heated by a furnace, which I fill like every 4 hours.
How do you sleep?
Oh, I can make it go for 8 to 12 depending on what kind of thing I put in it, because I can put huge blocks in it. 20 by 20 by 20 by I think 30 is the box, so you can put some pretty big pieces of wood in there.
Okay. You ever just wake up cold, like, oh man,
Oh yeah, that's how I know that I need to fill the fire. I can feel it in my feet because it's radiant heating, right? So I can basically tell when my feet are colder than the rest of me. And it's like, yeah, good time to fill a fire.
Tony wants to know, how much do you think Ditko's philosophy inspired his issue of Spider-Man?
Considering the fact that we were just talking about how much of a jerk Spider-Man was to begin with, or as Peter Parker, I think it inspired it a lot, but people just gave up on it pretty quickly.
Yeah, it dominated. I think it was the defining part was Peter Parker. If he was getting more and more alienated. There was hippies protesting on his in issue 22 or something like that, and Peter Parker's like, look at these bums. He was basically aping Ayn Rand's philosophies. And then it was so bad that when Ditko quit, Stan Lee took over and had him apologizing to all his friends and everything like that. It was, I think, the villain, the Prowler, is a direct inspire of Ayn Rand's. Like, what did she call them? There was producers and poachers or something like that. So he didn't want to use the word poacher. He used the word prowler, to basically be an Ayn Randian villain. Yeah, Spider-Man seems to fight Fire Lord a lot.
Which is weird because he actually held his own against Fire Lord, who was a, Herald of Galactus with cosmic powers.
Yeah, I think Fire Lord should be somebody Spider-Man should be like, oh, I need help. But that's another thing that Marvel did is they lessened the like when Galactus showed up, that should have been like, oh no, Galactus is here. Like we got to come up with a clever way to defeat him. We got to get like everybody showing up, and now it's just like, Galactus shows up and Squirrel Girl beats him. So you know what? Galactus doesn't mean anything anymore. You've destroyed his gravitas. Doctor Doom, Galactus, all of these characters, like the editors should just be like, oh, what do you want to do? No, you can't do that to this character. That's the problem with Marvel is the editors aren't editors. The editors
not anymore.
School principles, Yeah, there's him beating up Fire Lord.
Which is funny because it's basically a recycled cover from an early Avengers where Vision was beating the crap out of somebody. I can't remember. I think it was Neil Adams.
Yep.
That did the cover.
Yep. I remember that. Yeah, there was a lot of homage.
Quite honestly, let's put it this way, Tony. If I remember correctly, I'm probably conflating a bunch of things, but in my mind, Spider-Man was supposed to be a version of Superman, and basically a version of Superman that wasn't heroic, more like an Ayn Rand character, and that's where the origin of Spider-Man came from Ditko in his mind, if you ask me. But again, it didn't last very long.
Guess that explains why Fire and Nova are so popular as characters. Either that, or it's because the Fire from the Justice League. Is she popular? I don't even know. And Nova, the female Nova, or the male Nova, because to be honest, I haven't seen either one of those characters in a long time. Like Nova, she was basically a naked fire chick flying through space, and then, as much as I was into comics, she just kind of like disappeared and got replaced by a couple of other Heralds of Galactus. I don't even. Does anybody know what issue she left? What happened to? I know what happened to because I actually had to like look it up on Wikipedia, but I don't know what comic that they got rid of Frankie Ray. John, what do you think if Ditko would have thought of a mega corporation like Disney owning his Marvel work? I don't know, but I don't know what Ditko would think. My gut says he wouldn't be too happy, but he knows he sold his work to Marvel and DC. But I know Kirby was just like, he hated Disney and he wanted to have nothing to do with it. And like now that Disney's retroactively calling him a Disney creator, a Disney king or something like that, someone's got to hook up some wires to Kirby's grave because the amount of spinning that he's doing right now would power a city.
Which is funny because that's part of the reason why I think Kirby disliked Disney was because he was forced into doing repetitive work for basically animation for, I think it was Popeye, and he just called it soul crushing.
Yeah. The DC, anything by the Dodsons could look good, especially when they draw women. But yeah, I didn't pick up that comic, and from what little I saw of it, it looked awful. Absolutely. They killed her off in issue 75, but then brought her back to life. No one ever stays dead. Yeah, if say what you want about Eric July, but when he said that he was not going to have like multiverses and dead means dead. You got to have that. I know it's comic books and we're talking about guys who could shoot laser beams and stuff like that. But if there's no permanence and no stakes, then there's no drama. And if there's no drama, there's no tension. And if there's no tension, there's no excitement. So, like, we all knew Superman wasn't going to die when Doomsday killed him. So, like, I wasn't even interested in the stunt. I actually didn't buy the comics when they came out. That's a great cover, that lizard cover. That is great. Yeah, that's McFarlane. The next great Jean Grey funeral, I want somebody to have the balls to say, why are we having a funeral? She's just going to come back. I know. She's the only exception. When your name is Phoenix, you get to come back from the dead. Like if your name is Resurrection Man, if your name is Lazarus, or if your name is Phoenix, you're allowed to come back from the dead. But anybody else, it's like, RJ, like, what do you, like, if you lived in the Marvel Universe, what would there be Christianity? Because everybody comes back from the dead. Jesus wouldn't be special.
Yeah, I never even thought of it that way.
You know what I mean? Oh, what do you worship? Oh, I worship Electro. Oh, yeah, Electro came back from the dead too. Yeah, okay, I'm going to join Electro. You know what I mean? It's like it devalues everything. You know.
So that's why in the Krakoa era X-Men, where everybody could just be resurrected on a whim whenever they die, they had to basically have Nightcrawler, who was a Catholic in the original comics and a very devout one, basically create his own religion and become the high priest of it.
Yeah, why not? Nothing matters. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, they need strong, like Denny O'Neil, like him or hate him, he took his job seriously and he considered himself the custodian of Batman. And he's like, as the custodian of Batman, he goes, in a way, I'm a custodian of American culture. You know, Batman is an American culture piece. He goes, so he better believe he took it seriously. And what, he hired writers and he gave them rules. He had, Chuck Dixon will send you Denny O'Neil's Batman Bible, and you had to follow these rules. And when you submitted story ideas, Denny O'Neil would say, no, you can't do that because of this. And Chuck Dixon said, I didn't fight with him. That was his job, So sometimes you would push like, well, I'm not really doing that. I'm doing this. You don't understand. But like if Frank Miller, if Denny O'Neil said, no, we're not doing it, that was the end of it. And that, but they don't, I get the feeling that like nobody tells, I can't even think Mags Visaggio what to do. Mag Visaggio just admitted that he doesn't even do rewrites. Just hands out a script. They publish it as is. It's Tom Brevoort. It's like, what are you doing for a living? Heather Antos doesn't even proofread with all the typos in her comics. So that's the first step. They gotta get rid of all the editors and get editors who take the job seriously.
Here's my hot take. I think the beginning of the end for comics was the creation of Venom. There's still today, like I remember being in the comic store like 5-6 years ago, where the guy who owned the comic store was talking to the employee and basically saying, yeah, we'll order a lot of these Venom new number ones because people are still stupid enough to think that a Venom number one will make them money. But at the same time, if you look at I would say, from what I've seen, the drawings from the Absolute Batman and how they recreated Joker is basically as a Venom ripoff.
Yeah.
It's like they're still trying to pursue this character and this run from 40 years ago.
That's a good point. Yeah. I think the beginning of the end was Image Comics. I think Image was they caused irreparable damage to comic books. They pulled off all of the writers. Todd McFarlane wanted creator credit for Spider-Man and whatever. It's like, dude, you're not the creator of Spider-Man. You're a good artist. You revamped. They should have given him more money, but to demand creator credit, you're absolutely out of your mind. They gave him his own Spider-Man that he wrote, and it was written like trash. He can't write. He still can't write. His ego got the better of him, and then they all pulled off Marvel, ruining the art for Marvel. And then they formed Image, and then they just made crap comics that there were a bunch of artists, and I'm going to argue that even the art wasn't that great most of the time. And all they did was they made they printed it on better paper, they got better coloring, so comic books got more expensive. Image Comics had terrible writing, and Marvel Comics had terrible artists. All the artists left, and next thing you know, speculators were buying look at all this Todd McFarlane stuff, and we're going to buy 60, 70 copies, and now I'm going to put my kids through college. And then 2 years later, they tried to dump them all. Not even 2 years. A year later, they tried to dump them all, and they found out they couldn't sell them. So then they stopped buying them. They already printed millions of copies that nobody was buying. Boom, we had the crash, and people just walked away. People just walked away from comics, and we've never recovered.
It all started in a Spider-Man comic. Quite honestly, I think the Image boom started with Todd McFarlane's Amazing Spider-Man. The big head for the Image creators. That's where it began.
Frankie is absolutely right. Moving to comic shops, making it niche. Yeah, that was the beginning of the end. Because every me and RJ and anybody at our age, we started getting comics at newsstands and supermarkets and 7-Elevens. And then you go to the comic book store. Like it should have been both. But the newsstands didn't want comics anymore. But would they have stayed if Marvel and DC didn't play along? If Marvel and DC were like, no, Marvel and DC were all too happy because they didn't like the return policy. They were short-sighted. Because there's still newsstands, you can still go to, Barnes and Noble, get comic books. Or I mean, they could still be there. Is what I meant to say. Yeah, my first comic was at 7-Eleven.
My first comics were from a hardware store that didn't even have a spinner rack. They would just throw them on the bottom shelf of this. It was like I can't remember. The store is like the old 76er or something like that because that's when they opened it.
That's funny. How'd that store even get them?
I heard a story, and I can't remember who it was from. If it was from, I think it was from one of my comic shops before they closed down. It's basically there was this traveling salesman who would go up and down the East Coast all the way up into Canada and down all the way to, at the very least, North Carolina, if not into Florida. And he basically would stop at all the corner stores where he would try to sell things and illegally buy the comics off of people who were supposed to be sending them back. And then he would sell them to the next town.
Oh, okay.
Which is why you get repetitions of so many, because we had a discussion one time at the comic shop. I was like, why do I keep on seeing, in comic store after comic store after comic store, because I'm up and down the East Coast, right? The same comics, like the same bunch of things that you would never see anywhere else. And it's just like, Claw or something like Iron Jaw or things like that, right? And he explained the entire thing to me. It was this guy, because again, these are unsold comics up and down the East Coast, and he would resell them, and then they would be resold by, wherever else he would go to next time.
And you know what? It got you found stuff that you wouldn't have found because of this guy. Yeah, he hoodwinked this hardware store guy into buying comics, and then you bought comics, and look at you, lifelong fan.
Oh yeah. This is back in the time when the hardware store was not what you think about today. Hardware store was a catch-all store, right? And we bought. That's where my parents bought like imitation pop, because they would have the small snub-nosed pop bottles that they would make somewhere in the town and all that kind of stuff.
I didn't even go there for a comic. I went there to get I would go to 7-Eleven. My mom would send me to 7-Eleven with $2. I'd ride my bike, go in and buy the pack of Kent Kings cigarettes. They were $1.75, and I would have a quarter left over, and I'd buy a comic book. That was the price for driving, ride my bike to pick up cigarettes. My mom was happy to let me have the quarter. I was happy to go to the store and get a comic book,
Funny enough, I don't like Venom very much as a character, but I think Carnage had much better visuals and
I was just thinking the same thing looking at that cover.
Yeah,
I think the red and black works better than that just black.
This is when I can remember when these books came out. Speaking about getting comics at weird places, I can remember when these books came out and they were introducing Carnage for the first time, and I was in university. It was like first year university or something like that, and I went around to every last gas station that I could find to get these books, their very first appearance of Carnage, because it's like, yep, these are going to be worth something someday. I'm gonna
fill up my coffee cup.
Right over there. No problem. But I literally went from gas station to gas station, because it was the time when you still were able to get comic books at a gas station, and I bought every last copy I could, because one of the stupid things I did first year university was basically took my student loan and bought comics. Because I paid for my university, obviously, but instead of eating actual food, I would go and buy comics, and that was basically it. I would eat besides cans of beans and ramen, because all I would buy was comics. Anyways,
one of my foremen was like, I've never eaten spaghetti sauce from a jar. I said, it sounds like you're saying something important, but what I'm hearing is I never went to college. Jarred sauce and boxes of pasta. When you're hungry, $10 will buy you 10 bags of spaghetti, 10 pounds of spaghetti. And then
it was funny. I was just having a conversation last week with this lady. She's Korean, and she was saying that Spam is a big thing in Korea. Not just a big thing, but a really important thing. Like they give packs of it to people for Christmas, because it's expensive food there. And I looked at her and I said, the only reason I know what Spam really tastes like and ramen is because of university. That was it, because I couldn't afford anything else, or didn't want to afford anything else.
I've never tried Spam, and I'm curious to try it. My wife bought it. It's been sitting in the counter now for like 4 months, so I forgot about it. Maybe I'll try this weekend. I'll actually try Spam.
Let's pretend you're in a World War II trench.
Spam and eggs, or should I have the spam, baked beans and Spam?
Baked beans go well with Spam.
The Spider Slayers. Okay, here's a question for the chat. RJ in the chat. If you could take one villain from Marvel or DC and have them switch, so like, Batman fighting the Green Goblin or something like that, so who would you, what would you take? So if you could take a DC villain and have him fight a Marvel hero, or a Marvel villain and fight a DC hero, what would you match up?
well, we're talking about villains again. I've told you every once in a while my idea of how to revamp both Marvel and DC and reboot them, but I always thought that the switching of Darkseid and Mephisto would be a really good uh, changeover from those two universes. So basically, you get Mephisto. And I guess the biggest Darkseid hero would be Superman. So I guess Mephisto would be fighting Superman, and Darkseid would be, I don't know, who is Mephisto supposed to be the major villain of in Marvel Comics?
I always think of him as the Silver Surfer's main enemy.
Oh yeah, because again, Silver Surfer is supposed to be a representation of an angel. There you go, right?
Well, this is bad guy versus bad. I'm thinking of like, okay, Spider-Man is patrolling the DC universe. Who would he fight? Would he fight Lex Luthor? Would he fight? You know, I'm trying to think of DC villains. Would he fight? The Parasite. I mean, I think Spider-Man would versus the Joker would be a great fight. You know, just like a Joker, or no, Spider-Man versus the Riddler. The Riddler would have a fun time teasing Spider-Man. And then I think Mysterio versus Batman would be an awesome comic. You know, Mysterio just doing mind games against Batman. Oh man. Omega Kid versus Deathstroke, just so Deathstroke would kill him. I can't stand that character. Who's Omega Kid? I don't even know who that is. Sounds like
the one from the 70s who had the headband with the Omega on it. He had a black and red suit.
No, but I think Omega Kid is one of the newer X-Men.
Oh, okay.
Mephisto wouldn't even be able to outsmart John Constantine. That's okay. Didn't think of that. Well, the Hellblazer John Constantine, the new John Constantine would probably want to have sex with him. Look at that Hulk. That's just an awful looking Hulk. Is that Eric Larson?
No, I'm thinking it's Bagley. I don't know who's inking it though. But I agree, it is a bad Hulk. Makes me think of the new Chinese Hulk character. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah. Amanda's Cho. I'm the fourth smartest person. Why would you say that? I'm the fourth smartest person in the world. It's like, shut up. Yeah, Omega Kid is the pink-haired telepathic X-Men, so they could just keep trying to push it. No one likes it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember. It was just the Omega. The character that I'm thinking about is a Marvel character called the Omega.
Yeah, Omega the Unknown from Steve Gerber, the comic that got canceled, and they had to finish it in the Defenders. Scroll back up. I wanted to see this villain. Who is this villain? Savage Showdown. Is that Carrion?
I think it's Carrion. I'm pretty sure it's Carrion.
Came back. I remember I was legitimately scared of that character. I was like, how's Spider-Man going to defeat him? He's the ultimate bad guy. I would send Lobo to Marvel, have him fight him, whoever. I don't care, just to get rid of him. He's a Marvel character.
Yeah, true.
I don't like Lobo either. I said this. I said Lobo is what nerd characters think being cool is. I hate that costume for Daredevil. I'm sorry, DG Chichester. You've been on my channel and you are nothing but a gentleman, but I don't like that costume you designed. What's the name of that girl?
Looks like Stunner. It's Stunner.
Oh no, Renzo, we got to fix something.
Yeah, I think Stunner appeared in like 5 books.
There's a villain in Patriarch #1 called Stunner that Renzo's probably drawing right now. A woman with electrical powers.
And then we get into the Amazing Spider-Man that I never actually bought. So, all right, I think we hit the end there, John.
Yeah, I'm getting sleepy. I'm sorry. I gotta have my dinner and then go to bed. I don't have enough time to take a shower and have dinner by the time I get home.
All
That's why
right,
I'm munching
just
on.
tell everybody. Everybody can blame me if you smell tomorrow.
No, I took a shower. I because I don't want to. I'll be filthy on camera. You know, you saw what I do for a living. Yeah, so I got to take a shower. Because if I don't take a shower as soon as I get home, I'll get too sleepy, and then I won't. Then there'll be dirt in my bed, and that nobody wants that. I
So
come
that's
home.
why I don't show on myself on screen. It's because shower occurs once a year when it rains here. So.
The Joker to fight Punisher, good, because then the Punisher will put an end to the Joker. I can't stand the Joker. At one point, the Joker was okay, but he became so overused that I just can't stand him anymore. But anything you want to say before we go, RJ?
Just to remind people that if they are looking for Crom the Destroyer through the link, it doesn't start. The campaign doesn't start until the 1st of April. So you got a week and a half, a little more than a week and a half. So before it starts up, I just wanted to have it coincide with the release of the ad that we are publishing for it.
Yeah, so you can go to Fun My Comics, Crom the Destroyer. And you can also go to Fun My Comics, check out Heroic Tales. You can get 1 and 2. You can get my T-shirts. You can get sweatshirts. You can get all the merch, cool merch that I have. And clock is ticking for my next campaign. I don't know. At this point, I don't know if it's going to be the King Fu Christmas special or Patriarch #1. But they're going to be back to back because you can fund my comic. You're allowed to have 2 campaigns at once. All right. See you, everybody.
I'll see y'all later.
Bye-bye.